Welcome to Jackpotting Around, a podcast about the Utah Jazz. I am Chad Lowe. Joining me is a man who worked with Mikal Bridges on his jumper all offseason, Art Cummings.
Hey, that's Mikal Kid Gilchrist to you.
Oh, what happened? I maybe dodged a bullet there. I was watching him warm up and I just kept thinking about our good pal Tony Jones and him jumping on the podcast like 5 minutes after the trade was announced and just being flabbergasted at how much they gave up. I mean, he was fine, but he was just like, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's what he kept saying. Anyway,
Exactly.
uh, hopefully he figured it out because that was rough. That was real rough. Art, we made it. We finally made it. We're in real basketball season, and it was glorious.
It was, that felt like the longest off season and preseason ever.
It literally was. There was like 2 or 3 weeks where I wasn't interested in hearing any news about basketball at all. And that never happens. Like I was just so like there's nothing gonna happen. Everything that's gonna happen is boring. And so I just didn't care and tuned out. So preseason was fun getting back into it, but then I had to like tell everyone to calm down. You know, it's not real. None of this is real. So we got real basketball, and we're going to talk about the game tonight extensively since it's the only real basketball we have, and we're going to do it by using a game that I am stealing from the starters, uh, the long time or no dunks, the starters. They've had a bunch, the Basketball Jones. They had a bunch of names throughout the years, but it's just one game, but and we can make some wild declarations we can make about the Jazz or about other things happening in the association. They can be serious, they can be fun, but that's what we're going to do. And we're going to switch back and forth, and that's how we're going to talk about this game tonight. But Art, what do you got?
It's just one game, but Walker Kessler is so back. He is so back. He looked the best he's looked in over a year, I would say. 16 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, 6 for 7 from the field. Had a little nasty to him. Zach Edey fouled out in 15 minutes. Walker looked like the Walker that we all fell in love with his rookie season. He was just absolutely amazing. There's not a single thing I could say bad about the guy tonight. Walker Kessler is back.
Ooh, I like that. He has had enough of your Zach Edey summer league. Uh, he didn't even. I mean, they played each other pretty equally, but the highlights went to Edey, and so of course it was Zach Edey destroyed Walker Kessler in summer league, and he's already better than Walker. Well, the game started, and it's a little bit. Edey's going to take some time. I think he's still going to be good, but Walker definitely was far and away the better player tonight. I I have one Walker related here. Here we'll jump into it. Kind of mean to do right after you just did a nice thing for Walker, but it's it's just one game, but we need to be really open to look, I'm not saying we have to trade him. I'm saying like stock arrows pointed up. Like if we get, if we're pumping the value a little bit and we've got a little, someone tweeted out about Bitcoin Walker and the stock price is raising. Like maybe we take those profits at this point if someone's ready to make a move. And it's not. Look, I think he's gonna I think he's closer to the player he was his first year than his second year. Like he's gonna get better. He's close to his ceiling, but he's cheap for 2 full years right now. And someone who is a contender, who has budget problems, who has a need at starting center, or even a need to like play a center 20, 25 minutes off the bench, like that seems like a really valuable thing to have. And maybe Ainge could get his 2 first round picks. I don't know.
Isn't it reported that he turned down 2 first round picks from the Knicks? I know they're not like the best. They're not the best first round picks. They were heavily protected. I think maybe that Detroit pick they ended up actually trading to Minnesota might convey.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I would definitely listen if someone's willing to pay a premium price. But yeah, after tonight, it feels kind of icky to say that after he's played so good and he's back, but
I
that's
look,
what we do on here.
not everyone follows me on Twitter. I already pre-apologized for this season before the game started today, or actually yesterday, because I'm going to get icky and it's loser talk, and I don't care. Like this is the first time I'm, in a long time I'm going to be openly rooting for us to lose. Not even when we made the trades for with Rudy and Donovan was I as open about like, hey, we should be losing because we started off so hot. It was like we didn't even have time to get fully geared up for a tank. And so I'm going to get icky and I am going to apologize and everyone's going to have to bear with me because like it's icky season. This is unfortunately the system we're left with. And so when Walker Kessler plays amazing and plays like a man on fire and does a lot of the things we've been asking him to do for a while, including make free throws, I'm gonna get on and talk about maybe his stock's up and we should make his move. But I'll apologize, and if anyone wants to make fun of me and call me a loser, like you're right, I'm not gonna argue. It's dumb to say, hey, we should lose games in a competitive sport and a team you cheer for. But I would have felt pretty bad if we would have lost, 127, 126 tonight instead of pulling out a terrific tank loss.
Right. Yeah. You know what? It kind of reminds me of, like the team that's rebuilding in Dynasty Fantasy Football, and a guy has a good game, and as soon as he does, he's putting him up on the trade block and just wants anything he can get from us. But it kind of feels like I cannot have one single good player on my team. We're rebuilding, so that's just kind of funny. But
Do you think Ainge sends like highlights to Griff down in New Orleans and be like, check this shit out?
sends the "you up" text, and if he
Yeah.
reads it, he sends over a copy to a tweet where it's showing his highlights and his stat line of the night.
Eyeball emojis, YouTube link, and then like eggplant, eggplant, eggplant. So
Oh man, that's great. I'm just glad to see him playing the way he did tonight. It just feels good because it just felt like such a letdown last season after the amazing rookie season he had. So it just feels good to see Walker get back to what we think he can be. Is it the Drew Eubanks effect? Did he instill some nasty back into Walker?
I think he told him he's like, look, if you play like a wuss, I'm gonna fight you in the locker room after the game. And so he's like, you have to go 1-on-1 with me, and there's gonna be no refs around. And so I don't know. I do think the added weight, the added muscle is obviously helping him. He looked a little slow early in the preseason, but now he's got his legs under him. He was so strong, like catching the ball and controlling it and still getting a shot up. It wasn't always pretty, but he got it on the backboard.
Oh, and finished soft too. That was the biggest thing is like he finished everything he touched and like you said was strong around around the rim. So just all around good stuff to see. Um
We could also go with the Exum theory, like when he was super skinny and came back like thick and was like doing things where like maybe he touched a boob in the off season. And
I did enjoy that. That was hilarious.
maybe he just touched a boob this off season and became a man. So,
It's just one game, Chad, but is Jordan Clarkson rehabbing his trade value? He looked good tonight. 17 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked good. Ainge is going to be sending out some highlights tonight.
he, I, if you would have asked me first half, I would have had one that said it's just one game, but is Jordan Clarkson washed? And that is the Jordan Clarkson experience. And it's been a while since like we've had the full down and the full up, but he was like awful. Like the Jordan Clarkson that like forgets how to dribble in the first half and is not making anything, not playing much defense. But yeah, he definitely was part of the reason they were able to come back and get back in the game and came back like the flamethrower, the old flamethrower is. Yeah, I think he will because this is the role he was meant, that God blessed him with these talents to play as off the bench as a flamethrower. I think he'll get some of that value back. We may have to manage the load schedule if he's going to be this hot in the second half, but yeah, I was happy to see him play well enough that he didn't make me scared that no one's ever going to want him, but also didn't quite get us over the hump.
For sure. I think some of them rookie extensions that we saw get handed out, Jordan Clarkson's 14 mil isn't looking so bad anymore to me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was worth 14 million this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Call it in, Danny. Uh,
Send them highlights out.
it's just one game, and I'm gonna steal your thunder here a little, a little. It's just one game, but the tank is fine. And the reason the tank is fine is because the bright future Rockets that everyone has anointed as so talented, amazingly talented, lost to the Charlotte Horncats that are for sure going to be worse than us based on what I've heard from other people. There's no way that we will be able to tank worse than they will, but they lost at home to the Charlotte Horncats, and Brandon Miller left early. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah,
But
he played 11 minutes. The Rockets were up 11 at half too. Not great. Not great.
and I was furious on our predictions pod because that was, I literally had to underline like, hey, everyone's a little bit overheated on the Rockets, and you jumped in there and you got it, and I was like, oh man, we didn't even talk about that, and we're both on the same like, let's calm down, guys.
Exactly. Hey, well, and you got me back. You got it on this one. So
But
we're
also looking around the league, Detroit, respectable. Like I watched parts of a Detroit game and I didn't get nauseated at all. I was like, actually, this team plays good basketball. They have mostly good players who are established. Their younger players look like they got better. They're going to win some games in the East. Other teams were competitive. There are some new concerns with like Toronto. I'm like, whoa, that's they. I watched a piece of there and that they looked bad.
they
But
yeah, that they looked really bad. I do want to say Detroit is kind of looking like what the naysayers were saying we were going to look like. I mean, Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley getting a good bulk of the minutes there and looking good. That's kind of what I heard from it's a noisy minority of Jazz fans saying that all the vets were gonna play, the young guys weren't gonna play. So the Detroit Pistons are looking like what people thought we were gonna look like with the vets, and I'm here for it, quite frankly.
I think they're like a year. Like people were just a year early on saying, hey, these guys might be good. You know, they needed another year to bake. They needed an actual coach who was invested in the team, and they added, you know, Beasley, Tobias, Tim Hardaway, which I get it. Tim Hardaway is old, but he makes 3 pointers, and they brought back Tech. Uh, like they're just very respectable, and there's a lot of respectable teams out there, and so I think the tank is in real good shape.
Yeah. Great. I would say great first 2 days of opening NBA season for us. It is just one game, but is there a little bit of a letdown season coming for the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Oh, Art is coming early with his Wolves hate, and I'm here
Number
for
a
it.
glad number one Minnesota Timberwolves hater here. They just looked just a little out of whack there with all the new players they had. Uh, Julius Randle not giving a ton of effort on the defensive end. Like I said before on a few earlier pods, not a big Julius Randle fan. Uh, Mike Conley, love him. Looked for the first time in a while, looked pretty old. Looked pretty old. Um, Yeah, I think of course they have Anthony Edwards, they still have Rudy Gobert, but maybe a little bit of a letdown season coming for them.
I only watched the Bronny parts of the game because I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
supposedly I was supposed to get like all misty and
Three
worked up
minutes
about
total.
it. Like I was like, this is cool and all that, but I was like, I don't like people were making it out like, hey, if you weren't getting a little teary eyed like the soldier that came home and met his puppy for the first time in a year or something and it was like jumping up and down, you like didn't have any feelings. So hey, this
Hmm.
is cool. Like it's great. Minnesota, yeah, Julius Randle likes to cook, man. And it was very clear that like that was disruptive to the offense. He did not he looked kind of checked out. And like if you follow Julius's career, he's a bit mercurial, he's a bit prickly. He gave the the Knicks the infamous thumbs down when they were booing him. I don't know why it was such a big deal, but he gave them the big thumbs down, and they all, for an off season, they kind of hated him. He, he, like, I just don't know that he's going to be the most selfless guy. And so if he's not bought in, I mean, at very least, if there's like some kind of hiccups in getting started and they start off, 500 or below it, that would be great. And then, a key injury. We're not rooting for injuries, but remember when I said that I was going to get icky, like I'm not going to cheer for injuries. So, like someone, you ever watch the movie Kicking and Screaming with Will Ferrell?
Yes.
He tells the kids, he's like, look, be aggressive. And he's like, if someone breaks a clavicle, that's a good thing. And so, um, I'm like a half step away from that. So, yeah, there could be a little bit of some issues. Dante didn't look like the Michael Jordan of Delaware. He looked fine. But just one game. So I'll
For
give him a
sure.
little bit. Just
For
one
sure.
game.
I mean,
That's the name of the game.
if they end up lower than 22 or something in the draft order, that's a win to me. I was told every year the picks are going to be 29 or 30. So anything lower than that's a big win.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. It's just one game, but Taylor Hendricks is going to beat the Tall Ochai accusations.
Yeah, I the first half, the like I was telling you earlier, the 180 takes on Taylor Hendricks from the first half to the second half. First half he was tall Ochai. Second half, I tweeted it myself. Quite literally the best half of basketball I've ever seen Taylor Hendricks play at the professional level. Uh, what really just doing what we want him to do, hitting open shots, being active on the defensive end. He pickpocketed Jaw on a drive in the fourth quarter in a key moment. Just being active on the offensive glass. Aldama tried throwing the ball off of him and he caught it and then drove and dished it. Like that's the Taylor Hendricks we want to see. Don't try to do too much. Just do you, do your job, and do what you're best at. And he did that in the second half, like the one of the craziest 180s in the
Yeah,
first game.
and he did have a slow start. Like he barely touches the ball in the first half, and this has been happening all preseason. And I don't know, like I don't get it. It's like it's not necessarily on him to like go get the ball. Like that's not what he does. And so I don't know if it's a will thing that hey, maybe we should get him a touch early so he's a little bit more involved in things, or that guys realize he's there. Um,
I mean, when you're playing with Keontae and Colin in the backcourt, not a ton of touches to go around. I would say. I don't know.
and you've got Lowry Markkinen who's running a lot of the stuff around the like the around the perimeter, the screening actions and all that. And
For
so
sure.
it's I get it. But he's already a better shooter. He's more impactful on defense, especially in the half court. And like there's times like even in the first half, like he went to get like some out aggressively chase after some defensive boards. And I think he's not necessarily like a natural pure basketball player. And so I think sometimes he kind of has to force himself into some of these habits. And that's why he needs 30 minutes to bake every night. Even if he doesn't come through and hit a few threes in the second half, like he might have some 5 point, 6 point nights and just live with it. Like he needs that time to bake and marinate and kind of force himself to be a little bit more aggressive. But I could tell there was like an emphasis for him to go get a rebound because he went and got a couple early where he chased him and really aggressively went after him. But Taylor's going to be fine, and I'm going to be the Taylor defender all season, and he's already definitely going to beat the Tall Ochai accusations, and we'll move on to the next, like whatever the next accusations are for him, the next level up later. So
Yeah. Uh, love Taylor. So for my last one here, uh, it's just one game, but Lowry looking like pretty like an all-star again. I think he like always looks like an all-star, but I mean like he's looking
I'm
like
gonna need
a
you to be more bold. Like just say it. Just say it, Art. It's just one game,
uh
but
all NBA Lowry Markkinen.
oh, okay. You went. I thought you were just gonna say All Star. You went crazy. That's fine. I'll take All NBA.
35 points on 15 shots, 9 rebounds. Like he looks great. How I mean, why would you want to trade for this guy when you have Brandon Pajemski? That's my question.
Live look
That's
in. Live look into the Warriors are up big. They Portland's tank is very strong. Apparently, they're up by
there's no
30.
chance they have Scoot Henderson. He's gonna will them to the
That's a tank commander right there. Minus 24 for Scoot plus minus,
will
but
them
he's
to the
had an okay
playoffs.
game. 17 points. Check and box scores. Brandon Pajemski, 21 minutes, 0 for 5. I mean, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Quentin Grimes. I mean, Brandon Pajemski, at least he was a plus 31. So that, I mean, he's doing something out there to help. But like, yeah, I mean, anytime you can bypass a 7 foot all star to keep your backup point guard for the position that
Well,
you're
teams just don't want to help Golden State out. They just don't want to.
you're gaslighting me because you've seen me fighting people online and the Warriors fans who are like, I commented on a couple of the Steph Curry things and the Draymond Green things where it's like, oh, the Clippers didn't want to do a deal with us, and then Danny Ainge was just being Danny Ainge, like, and Steph, of course, was like, well, not gonna lie, no one's trying to help us. Yeah, no crap. You are the competition. They are not trying to help you. And when you say things like this, it really makes you sound whiny. And Warriors fans didn't appreciate me telling them their hero was whiny.
Yeah, they did not. I did see one where it's like, aren't you a Jazz fan? Yeah. Were you a Warriors fan pre 2016? Like, probably not. So let's keep it moving.
I promise that guy who is light years ahead of us.
Light
I
years.
was on the Oracle floor before he was because I'm old AF. And I had some good connections, and I actually back when the Oracle was the Roracle, and they were tanking to get guys like Steph Curry and Harrison Barnes. I was able to get some pretty gnarly seats and uh we got a box seat. We got to actually play on the court. So like, dude, like I've been there. All right. I'm not new here. I know what you guys are doing. But anyway, when you
I just
sit there
thought that
and
was
say,
a
"Hey,
funny, like the worst comeback you could come back. But like they don't even know what to say. Like they're just
we're we're light years ahead of you, but now we're pissing and moaning when you won't help us," like, what are you even talking about? Like
that was just like the
the Clippers
terrible.
didn't want Andrew Wiggins' awful contract. That's why they didn't trade Paul George to you. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Danny Ainge didn't want to take 50 cents on the dollar, and he wanted you to put your backup point guard on the table so he could have a real negotiation. And you're like, pass. But
No, just didn't want to help. I mean, they put everything on the table. We just didn't want to help him out. Like
and
it
they
matters to us this season.
they won by 37, so they're gonna be hanging banners tonight. So, oh well, oh well. As long as Pajemski isn't amazing, yeah. Lowry Markkinen, All Star, book it.
All NBA. No, what I meant to say is like he's he should have been an all-star last year. Like he should be an all-star going forward. It just really depends. We're not going to be very good, I don't think. Um, so it just really just depends. But yeah, I mean, dude is just absolutely insane. All the guys who I like reading stuff when they tweet, uh, all just praising Lowry Markkinen tonight. So just good vibes all the way around. Do you have one more for us?
I have one more. Um, just one game, but Keontae George is not a point guard.
Hmm, interesting. I have my own thoughts about that as well. I kind of lean towards him being he's definitely not a natural point guard. I'll say that. Um,
7 assists, a turnover. That's not awful, but just the shot didn't fall tonight. 3 of 18. It's just not his natural like inclination. And I think it once you throw him off ball and have him working and hunting shots, and he's not like he struggles to bring the ball up the court
I was about to say that like struggles to kind of bring it up and get going in the offense a little slow there, right?
all the time, and like he's handles it very much like a point guard. Like I'm coming back to get the ball, and I like you don't need to do that. Like like we got other ball handlers like push it up. Like I get a little bit annoyed. They like just don't look at Colin when he's already open. It's like just throw it to Colin and like have him push the ball up the court. Like this, like he's not John Stockton. He doesn't need to bring it up, get us in our offense and all that. And I think once you remove some of those responsibilities, some of the other things he does shine. But this is the year of the tank. I'm fine with them doing this, like get the reps and force him to do the thing that's less natural, and maybe he gets and but I would like to see a little bit more off ball. And I just this isn't an indictment. I just don't think he's like the point guard of the future.
Which I mean, I don't love the Keontae Sexton backcourt to be honest with you. For a couple of reasons. So I'm kind of there with you. I am still super high on Keontae, of course. He had a rough night tonight about as bad as you could uh hope for. So it's like it's rough. I don't want to keep just piling on the guy, but um let's see
Hey,
82 games of it and see where it goes from there. That's what this part of the season should be about is just putting guys
sure.
in uncomfortable situations and seeing what happens.
And I mean, he did throw a couple amazing like lob passes that were like perfectly on time. Like, it's not that he can't pass. That's not why he's not a point guard. It's just like the whole thing of like the floor general, the ball handling, like
Like does he
processing everything and doing
yeah,
all that. Like, I just don't know if it's gonna happen for
does
him.
he really have to bring the ball up every time down the court or can Colin do it a couple times, right?
Well, can Lowry do it? Can Taylor? Okay, I'm just kidding.
Taylor
Taylor's
and
not. That's not his bag.
do one of the patented fast break pull up threes we saw last year.
That's right. Let's
Explore
experiment
the
with
space a
Taylor.
little
Let's
bit,
do
Taylor.
the Greg Popovich. Hey, Taylor Hendricks is actually a point guard. We'll run the Sohan at point guard. Do the Taylor Hendricks and make sure we get a high draft pick. So, no, I just like when you watch like Boston and stuff. Like they just push the ball right. You have a point guard, but like they push up, get into the off passing. Like it's just it's a little bit too scripted with Key, and I don't think it allows him to shine the best that he can. And so I don't want to see a mix. I want to see a mix
Yeah,
of that.
that's
And I
fair.
understand why they're trying to do it. Like I get it, but
For sure.
just one game, just one game. All right. Well, that was fun.
Super fun.
Um,
I really enjoyed that for sure.
I've Are there any lingering thoughts from the game that you had? I had a couple little things that I had as I was watching that kind of was a little honestly, some of it on the Memphis side, like wasn't exactly sure what they were doing a couple.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised to see Bryce Sensabaugh be the first player off the bench. Didn't get a ton of minutes, but that was good to see. I do think we will be playing the young guys a lot. I am hoping that Patty Mills just got some burn tonight because Collier is out with an injury, so that's what it's kind of just what I'm thinking. But I do think we will see a lot of the young guys, contrary to some very
And
pessimistic people.
this
But
this isn't mean to Patty Mills. Like I don't want to watch him. Like
Yeah,
it's
no,
so
I'm good. I'm
boring.
good on Patty Mills. Like
Um, Collier is
I
so
watched
much more
enough of him
interesting.
throughout his career on other teams. I'm good on him. Just similar to what I tweeted about THT. Like somebody said, I'm interested to see how THT does this season. I'm like, not me. I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good if I had enough THT for my
Enough
entire life. I am
THT.
good.
You don't want to watch any THT or Rudy Gay jumpers or any of that. But Patty,
Rudy
yeah,
Gay turnaround jumpers doesn't even know where the rim is at.
I think those minutes will go to Collier, those 16 minutes or so.
Yeah.
One other thing I was going to say is just one game, but with Bryce, and I forgot about this because I didn't take notes during the game. At some point in the season, it's just one game, but at some point in the season, one of these NBA nerds like Zach Lowe or Kevin O'Connor or whoever is going to throw in Bryce Sensabaugh in passing lanes
Yes.
is as a one of
Yes.
their 10 things. Like it is eye popping how much different and better he is. And it's been so consistent through the preseason and now that I'm like, I'm bought in. Like he gets these, he got 2 steals in 12 minutes and both of them are just like, they're just great reads of like perfectly timing going to the passing lane where it was going to go and getting it. And then the other one, he just kind of like reached down and straight. And the defensive effort that he's putting there, I don't know what he becomes. Like he's kind of the player I don't have the best read on as far as the young players because he's definitely talented and he's got a different body and it's like what is it? I don't know what this guy does, but there's a lot of good things to like. But the one thing that jumps out to me is like in Ohio State, he was a an awful defender. And
Yeah.
like he is reading the floor really well, so he has the brain for it as far as like getting these passing lanes. And again, it's simple plays, but it's like, oh, the ball's going out of bounds. I see who the outlet guy is, and I'm getting there to where the ball should go, and I'm catching it. It doesn't look like this amazing play, but it's just like I was a full step ahead of the play to get to where I needed to be to grab it. And so it's just really impressive how far he's come on that end. And if all the other things come together, like we've got something there. So
For sure. I mean, you can see he's super smooth on offense. He reads the game on offense, and that's translating to the defensive end. It's just great to see him because that's his biggest weakness, biggest knock, right? Was his defense coming in because he was not a good defender at Ohio State. So just to see him doing that is just amazing to see. He did have a super smooth euro to a floater in the second half. That was nice to see as well. Would like to see some more Bryce Sensabaugh minutes going forward.
yeah, I wonder if you like reallocate some of the Jordan Clarkson stuff to Bryce. It's not going to look the same. It's going to be different, but like that might help the tank. It might give him some of those minutes, and we might see what he's got going there. But
After Jordan rehabs his trade value and ends up on uh playoff team.
Detroit Pistons. No, I don't know. Very didn't know, but
Just
uh,
a they when the Raptors were going for all 6'8", 6'9" guys, the Pistons are just gonna go for 6'3" to 6'6" guards. Just
yeah, maybe the bright future Rockets could have some need some help, getting some scoring so they could get Jordan. Yeah, I guess as far as like my overall thought, obviously a very close game that the crowd's excited. Like we're good at home. We're gonna play some of these games against teams that are competitive. But I was looking around at like Memphis's rotation and like Jay Huff had a great game, but he is like summer league legend Jay Huff, who looks like every other guy that I've seen in a church gym
yeah.
basketball run.
I said he looks like a guy I play at the YMCA morning hoops with.
And he is
Who's just
talented.
overly sweaty.
Like literally, he is a summer league legend. He was like mashing on a couple guys, and he's huge and he can shoot it and all that. But like Jalen Wells, is it a Jalen Wells? I assume
I
it's
was
a
just about to
Jalen
say
Wells.
Jalen Wells, yeah,
Like I've
Washington
never
State.
heard of him, and so that's on me. But he was fine. But like a lot of these guys, Scottie Pippen Jr. is a really good player. I think he's going to be fine. But like they're missing a few rotation players. Like that's part of the reason it was so competitive. But also like they committed some of the dumbest fouls when we were in the penalty. I don't know that we'll shoot like 45 free throws again in the next like 25, 30 games. Like they gave up in the first quarter and the fourth quarter, they got in the penalties so early. And then it was these dumb fouls like on screens that they're just grabbing people and stuff.
Multiple plays in a row. Yeah.
And so that and John Morant is just like he's so good and so talented, but deeply unserious. Like he's
Dude,
just
flexing after every made basket. Like, come on, dude.
not even made basket. He drew a foul, but like I don't care. Like if the ball's dead, go ahead and flex. Like have your fun or whatever. Game is supposed to be fun, but like literally they're inbounding the ball and he is just standing there basking in the glory of the layup he just did while Keontae George gets 2 free throws because you were just sitting there like I don't know what you were even doing. Like run down the court as you talk your shit. I don't know. Like what are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit lower on the Memphis Grizzlies after watching Ja come back and be just Ja, just I don't know.
I think they were definitely missing Jaren Jackson Jr. tonight. That's another thing I kind of noticed. But I guess not really. I mean, Jay Huff looked good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he did. Yeah, it was just a lot of guys. I'm like, what is this guy doing on the court? Um, but yeah, so I'm not. Even though we played him close, like we're gonna play a lot of close home games. We just are. The circumstances here, I don't know that you can like carry it over and be like, well, now we're gonna beat Golden State on Friday. Actually, we're gonna. That's another game we're gonna do real quick. But yeah, I just overall very enjoyable game. You don't want to get pantsed in front of everyone. You want to have enjoyable basketball, which it was, and we want to lose. So win, 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 win all around.
Yep.
And we can blame the ref. Let's blame the refs too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we fouled them with 2 seconds left. They're in on the tank. They just did not. They swallowed the whistle. They said, nope, not giving you a chance to go to OT.
All right. So last time we talked, it was literally early in the preseason, and so we had the preseason predictions. I don't know if there. I don't have any in particular that I was like, hey, I would change that. But any Jazz predictions that you've made or thoughts that you had that you're like, hey, maybe I'm really going to reassess this at this point.
Just kind of, I was kind of alluding to it on that podcast, just with how high some of the over and under for points were. I'm like, well, if Lowry's averaging 25, Collins averaging 22, Keontae's averaging 17, like it just wasn't really adding up. I don't think Colin, one of those two guys is not hitting their mark that we kind of projected. Either Colin at 22 or Keontae at 17. I don't think there's not really a chance both those guys hit that. Just from what I saw tonight, it's one game, massive overreaction, but I'm just not seeing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the only things that it's clear like Flip's not gonna be in the rotation until something changes. I think Collier, I would probably flip flop on who's getting more minutes. I think Collier is gonna end up being the backup point guard and picking up minutes there. Um, I probably would. I don't. I'm good on all the stuff. I feel
Yeah,
pretty
for sure. Me too.
confident on all the predictions so far.
The
So after 10 games, we might revisit them, but it's
yeah,
been a while. So
I was a little bit higher on the so we both were lower on the Rockets. I was a little bit higher on the 76ers, and then Joel Embiid and Paul George was like, no, we're good. We're not playing the first week. And now they're getting investigated for participation by the NBA. And Joel Embiid is projected to be out for 3 games. His first game back is was conveniently against the Detroit Pistons. Very interesting stuff there.
yeah, I don't know. Sixers can't have nice things. That's all I know.
Yeah.
They have the weirdest stuff happen to them, and so I'm sure those
And
guys want to play. I don't know what you're investigating. Like is it the back to back statement or whatever? Like I don't like the NBA is weird, and it's funny because people are like, yeah, that's right, get them, and I'm like, they only care because of the money. It's the gambling money. It's the fan money. They don't really like. It's not the integrity of the game. It's the integrity of their money. But anyway, I yeah, we'll see on the Sixers. I'm never ever gonna be like ever confident in there. They're cursed in some weird way.
yeah,
Maybe because they offed Hinkie in
off the
for
process.
Colangelo. Um, yeah. Uh, some Jazz news, but it's not Jazz news. Um, Our boy Rudy got paid an extra, what was it, 63 million,
Yeah, it
tack a
was
couple years.
yeah,
It's
63 mil. So he was set to make 46 mil next year. He declined that. He's gonna get about 36.3 it comes out to. So he's losing 10 mil next year and he's gaining 70, about 72 to 73 after that. So a net of about 63 mil extra years. He will be getting paid. I don't know if the exact numbers came out, but let's just say it's flat. 36.6 mil when he's 34 and 35. Um, some mixed feelings on that. I think he mentioned about taking a discount, which he probably did take a discount, but in the end, is it really? I kind of pointed this out on Twitter. Is like they next year they have seven guys locked in for 136 mil, and that's not even including Julius Randle or Naz Reid. So what? I mean, yeah, you helped them save some dollars out of the luxury tax, but what is that really going to help you flexibility wise going forward? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a deal that works for both of them, obviously. Like I don't know that he left money on the table because like he's not a free agent. So he locked in security. If he were to get to free agency healthy, maybe he could get more than that, but he's older. You listed his ages and he's huge. And so those guys don't always age well. He's taking very good care of himself. As long as something bad doesn't happen, I think it's a fair deal, but he might that last year, even if he's healthy, might look like the last year of Clint Capella's deal that he has now, where it's like, hey, this guy's playable, he's helping, but he's more of a 20 million and not a 36 million dollar
Yeah,
player
and
or
I mean
something.
Rudy earned it. He super happy for him to lock in that money. Good for him. I do think we will be wondering around that last year, maybe the second to last year on that deal. It's like, yeah, he's making 36 mil. He's not looking like the Rudy Gobert we know. But we'll see. We'll see. I just don't really it doesn't really move the needle one way or the other for me. I think the more interesting thing for the Timberwolves is what happens with Julius Randle going forward. If he's is there a non I think there's a non-zero chance Julius Randle gets moved this season, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, I think so too. The market would. He's a weird player, so the market's going to be tough for him too. So I don't. They can't take on a lot of money if he's underperforming and he opts in because there's not much out there. It complicates things. They've got Naz Reid who's going to get a bag. Maybe Danny Ainge is getting ready to
Yeah,
load up a bag for Nas. That'd be fun.
I like Nas.
That'd be a good time. And so yeah, the budget cuts have started, and we'll see what other things happen over in Minnesota. But happy for a guy. I'm actually glad too that he like because he just gets ragged on so hard and in the national media, and he's just kind of a different dude. I am glad that he found a place he feels like comfortable in and that he's happy. Like I don't have
Yeah.
any ill will that way at all.
Well,
So
and the biggest thing for me is like he's not out there talking on podcasts or articles saying off the wall stuff like Draymond, and then he just seems like a punching bag for Draymond and Shaq for some reason when he's not even asking for it. It's different if he's asking for it, but he's not. He's literally staying out the way. He's playing ethical hoops, playing good defense, holding it down. Um, I don't know. It's just good for him. We'll see what ends up happening with the Timberwolves. I mean, in the end, they still have Anthony Edwards, of course, but just some odd moves I want to say from them. Like it's just one more thing. It's just one game. They traded a 2030 pick swap and a 2031 unprotected first to the Spurs for Rob Dillingham. Didn't play a single second. That was odd. I don't know. They look like they could use some offensive creation. Just a couple of odd moves. We'll see what happens. It's a little too early to tell, but and of course I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm the number one Timberwolves hater, so you know.
reverse optimism. for the Timberwolves, but optimism for the Jazz. Yeah. Yeah, the Rob thing, we'll see. I just think he's so small. He's going to take a minute to figure it out, and he might have been one of those guys that would have been better served going to a bad team so that he could get some minutes to get himself oriented because
Yeah.
they're going to need him to play defense and stuff, and that's going to be challenging at his size.
Well, it's like just from my perspective, why pay that premium price? Those are two premium picks and not like be confident in the guy to be ready to play, contribute from day one. I just wouldn't have done that myself if I was in their position. But clearly, I mean, the cat trade was just a money trade, really. So it's like I don't really know. I haven't really loved their moves, and they let Kyle Anderson walk too.
Yeah,
For
Kyle is
that was an
just
underrated, sneaky bad move for them.
he's perpetually underrated. He does winning basketball stuff, but he looks like a goof when he does it. And so I think those guys are always going to be a little bit
Worst
underrated.
shot form, Mikal Bridges or Kyle
Oh,
Anderson?
Kyle Anderson, and it's not close. Like Kyle is just
I don't
like
know.
it's
Bridges looked like
jarring.
Bill Cartwright.
It's jarring. It's like when Fultz was back and shooting at the beginning and the free throws, and you're like you almost had to like the thing that people do on the bench where they're like holding each other back. They're like, whoa, what happened there? Like it's jarring. It's like, what did I just
It's
see?
like, and then they like wonder like how did the ball even get back to his hand to shoot that? You know?
Yeah, yeah. So it's Kyle actually worked on his form, and so we'll see if he's got that slow hitch. But yeah, I Mikhail installing a hitch in his jumper. I don't know.
Not the best move I'd say.
I described it to someone as like it looked like his legs, torso, and arms are completely disconnected, and they're like it's like Tin Man type stuff. It was like what like
It was jarring, like compared to what you're used to seeing. You're like,
yeah
what?
yeah. Um. All right, all right. So close us out here. I figure this year we are going to try to do a midweek recording to get on a regular schedule so that we're getting pods out. Um, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to say, okay, the Jazz have 3, 4 games this week. You go ahead and guess the record. I'll guess the record. We can keep track of it. We don't have to keep track of it. I don't really care, but it's all for
Yeah, let's
fun.
do it. I say keep track of it. We'll on our weekly recap, we'll just say, hey, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of weeks that I'm gonna end up be winning, so you might not want to keep track. I'll just play it. So we
If
got
I control the spreadsheet, I mean,
so we have Friday, uh, home against the Warriors. We have Monday away at Dallas against the Mavericks. Tuesday home against the Kings. So let's predict the next three games. So I think we'll probably have a podcast in between that game and then the game on Thursday. So three games: home against Warriors, away against Mavericks, home against Kings. What's our record?
that one is 0-3. um,
Yeah, that's honestly that's what I'm.
uh,
I for the sake of I don't want to say the same, so I will say 1-2. But
you
I
don't
would
have to. No, 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 no. We're not doing this. You do what you want to do. What we can, and you know what? If you're a jackpotting around listener and you want to join in on this, like join in on this. Predict the record each week. We'll keep track of it. And I think the Sacramento game is the one that I would predict. But coming back Monday, it's a back at the back end of a back to back. You're Monday at Dallas. Tuesday, like there's gonna be load management in this schedule, and so like Lowry might have some soreness. Walker might have some soreness.
somebody might get contused over the weekend.
There could be contused. I'll tell you one thing: if we beat the Warriors, I won't complain because that will be fun.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I actually think that's the most winnable game. Um,
Ideally, we lose by like 1 in that game, and Lowry has 50.
and Lowry pulls what he did last year against the Kings, and hits the buzzer beater
Oh,
a
there we
tenth of a
go.
second after. That would just be the icing on the cake.
Yes, yes.
So I'm gonna go 0-3. I do think the Warriors game is the most winnable just because we have some time in between, and it's at home. But 0-3 is my prediction.
Yeah, and I think the Warriors, the vibes seem pretty good. They blasted Portland. Draymond is always like
Heat up, baby. First game of the
full
season.
Draymond in Utah. Uh, you know, I think the Kings game is probably the most winnable if I had to pick one, just because there's weird stuff going on with Sacramento. Like the vibes aren't necessarily great. Like they played poorly in the preseason. I mean, I would know we got excited about our win, but they haven't played well. And so I don't know exactly what's going on with them.
Some weird stuff with the Aaron Fox kind of he pushed off the extension and was like, we'll see.
Yeah. And I mean, even like Mike Brown's contract extension this summer, it got done, but it was like, well, we don't want to. We'll wait and see. And then people are like, the hell are you doing, Vivek? And he's like, okay, fine. Like kind of succumb to peer pressure type of thing. And so I don't know. I'm curious to see what's happening in Sacramento and if they just flipped the switch and maybe it was just preseason, you know, uh, just preseason basketball. But uh, that Kings game would be the one I'm circling. I think the game, our first win of the season, will come in that San Antonio Halloween game, but that's the next night. We'll probably record Wednesday night, and so that's the one. Like Wemby won't play because they play the night before. I've done way too much deep dive in the schedule, Art. I have planned out the tank, but they
Hey,
play the
but if we
Thunder the
start
night
0-4,
before.
like we'll allow one win. But if
Yeah, they play the Thunder the night before on ESPN, and I can see them obviously playing Wemby in that game and then deciding, Halloween night he's not playing or something. So
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah.
One fun stat of the night, Lauri Markkanen moved up to 35th overall in all-time scoring for the Jazz, and he passed Jazz legend Rodney Hood tonight.
Rodney Hood, all right. Bad chicken, Rodney Hood.
Yep.
We used to
His
always
stomach's
say
bubbling as we speak.
shout out to my homeboy Richard who used to always text me when Rodney would have his stuff going on. He's like, "Oh, Rodney had the bad chicken tonight." And so, shout out to Rodney, who was a fine player in a Jazz uniform and a guy I always rooted for,
Yeah, I liked him. I liked him.
even though he had some gastric distress.
And got overshadowed. Really, his time to shine was Donovan's rookie year, and Donovan just said, "Nope, it's my time."
I remember squinting really hard and being like, "Well, what if Rodney Hood is Gordon Hayward?" And he was not Gordon
Uh,
Hayward.
that
Yeah,
Rodney Hood or is that Michael
the
Redd? I can't
the
tell.
bifocals were not working. He did have a pretty jumper, and
He did.
so.
Good
Uh,
size. Like I liked him. Liked him. Shout out
well,
Rodney Hood.
we that's good. That's good. Good on you. I like that. Fun stat of the night. All right. Well, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. If we don't get me up over 500 Twitter followers, bad things are going to happen to the Jazz. So
And if we don't get me over 1,000,
that's right.
bad things are gonna happen. So I did want to say you climbed pretty fast. We got you from about 100 to about 400 in a shorter span. Um,
I uh, I started liking a whole lot of OnlyFans models stuff, and like the algo, I picked up like hundreds overnight. It's amazing. So that
nice.
that night, I'm in deep MAGA and deep left. I just go like everything and comment on
And
everything.
you're liking all the light years ahead tweets, and you're just gaining everybody. So
Yeah, those guys
uh,
are hate following. Yeah.
Chad at Jackpot or at JPotting around on Twitter. Myself at Art Takes Note. We've been blown away by the support that you guys have given us. We love doing this. We're going to continue to do it. We hope you guys enjoy this one. I had a ton of fun doing this one, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much.
Trust the filter.
Trust the filter, baby.